Hello, on this video I will explain you about White for Story book. Okay, so what is story? Contrary to what many people think, story is not just something that happens. Okay, story isn't something that happens to someone. Okay, Peter will be utterly involved reading a stranger honesty and Darren. Heartfelt journal chronicling every trip she took to the grocery store ever and beyond. Story isn't even something dramatic that happens to someone. Would you stay all night reading about the bloodthirsty gladiator A chased cutthroat gladiator be around dusty hold arena 200 pages? I'm thinking no. So what is a story? Story is what happens affect someone who is trying to achieve what turns out to be a difficult goal. How he or she changes as a result. Breaking down, to in the soothingly familiar parlance of the writing world, this translates to what happens in the plot. Someone is the protagonist. The goal is what's known as the story question, and how he or she changes the story itself. Okay, a counterintuitive as it may sound, a story is not about the plot or even what happens in it. Story is about how are we, rather than the world around us. They grab us only when they allow us experience how it would feel to navigate the plot. Truth, story, and will through see through is an eternal journey, not an external one. All the elements of a story are encoded with a very simple premise, and they work in unison to create what appears to the reader as reality, only sharper, clearer, and far more entertaining because stories do what our cognitive unconscious does: filter out everything that would distract us from the situation at hand. In fact, stories do it better because while in real life it's nearly impossible to filter out all the annoying little interruptions like leaky faucets, disturbing bosses, and cranky spouses, the story can tune them internally as it focuses on the task at the end. What does the protagonist have to confront in order to solve the problem you have so cleverly set up for her? And that problem is what the reader is going to be hunting out for them to get go because it's going to define everything that happens from first sentence on. What rapidly unrevealing situation have you punked me into anyway? Let's face it, we are busy. Plus, most of us are plagued by that little voice in the back of our head constantly reminding us what we really should be doing right now. Especially when you take time out to do something seemingly non-productive as reading a novel, which means in order to distract as from the relentless demands of our immediate surroundings, the story has to grab our attention fast. And as neurosciences writer John Lehrer said, nothing focuses the mind like surprise. That means when we pick up a book, we are jonesing for the feeling what something out of the ordinary is happening. We crave the notion that we've come in this crucial juncture in someone's life and not a moment too soon. What's into cake us in the end that not only intoxicates us in the end, that not only is the trouble brewing, but it's long-standing in about to reach critical mass. This means from that first sentence we need to catch sight of the breadcrumb trail that will lure us deep into the ticket. I have heard it said that fictional stories for that matter can be summed up by a single sentence: all is not as it seems, which means that we are hoping for in that opening sentence, in the sense that something is about to change and not necessarily for the better. Simply put, we are looking for a reason to care. So for a story to grab us, not only must something be happening, but also must be a consequence we can anticipate. As neuroscience reveals, what draws us into a story and keep us there is the firing of our dopamine neurons, signaling the intriguing information is on its way. This means that whether it's an actual event unfolding or we meet the protagonist in the midst of an internal quandary, or there is merely hint that something slightly off on the first page. There is to be a ball already in play, not a preamble to the ball, not all the stuff you have know to really understand the ball itself. This is not to say the first ball must be the main ball. It can be the initial ball or even the starter ball, but on that first page, it has to feel like the only ball and it has to save our complete attention. For instance, how about this? The first paragraph of Curling Levitt gets in trouble for a bold play. Sarah paints are coming 10 minutes apart now. Every time one comes, she jolts herself against the side of the car, trying to disappear. Everything outside is whistling past her from the car window. Jack, her father, is speeding something she's never seen him to do before. Sarah grips the armrest and her knuckles white. She presses her back against the seat and digs her feet into the floor as if any moment she will fly from the car. Stop, the one to say, slow down, stop, but she can't form the words, can't make her mouth work properly, can't do anything except wait in terror for the next plane. Jack hunches over the wheel, peeping in his own too. There isn't much traffic. His face is reflected in the rearview mirror because he doesn't want to look at her. Instead, he can't seem to keep himself from looking at Abby, Sarah, mother, who is sitting in the back with Sarah. His face was unbeatable. Trouble brewing, yeah. Long-standing trouble at last 9 months, probably longer. Can you feel the momentum? It spills you forward, even if it grounds in the unfolding moment. You want to know only what happens next, but what also led to what's happening right now. Who's the father? Was it consensual? Was she raped? Your curiosity is engaged, and you read on without consequently having made the decision to do so. What does that mean? As readers, we regularly probe each piece of information for significance, constantly wondering what is meant to tell me. It said people can go 40 days without food, 3 days without water, and about 35 seconds without finding meaning in something. The truth is, 35 seconds is an eternity compared to the rap speed with our subconscious brain rips through data. It's biological imperative. We are always in the hunt for meaning, not in the metaphysical. What is the true nature of reality? Sense, but in the far more primal, very specific sense of Joe left without his usual morning coffee. I wonder why. Betty is always on time. How come she's half hour late? That annoying dog over there barks its head off every morning. Why it's so quiet today? We are always looking for the why beneath what's happening on the surface, not only because our survival might depend on it, but because it's accelerating to make us feel something, namely curiosity. Having a curiosity piqued its visceral and leads to something more potent, the anticipation of knowledge we are now angry for. A sensation caused by the pleasure rush of dopamine because being curious is necessarily for survival. What's the rustling in the bushes? Nature encourages it, and that's why better way to encourage curiosity than make it feel good. This is why once your curiosity is roused as a reader, you have an emotional vested interest in finding what happened next, and bingo, you feel the delicious sense of urgency, a low dopamine, and that's all good story instantly ignite. Okay, good. Do you want an interpreter with that? So what's happened when you can anticipate what might happen next? When you can't even make sense of what's happening now. Usually you decide to find something else to read. Pronto. I've often threw up my hands in frustration when reading a manuscript wishing it came when it interpreted. I could feel the author burning intent. I knew she was trying to tell me something important. Trouble was I had no idea what was. Think of how expecting in the real world someone begins a long rambling story. Did I tell you about Fred? He was supposed to come over last night, but it was raining, and like adult, I forgot my shower down my windows and new couch gets old. I paid a fortune for it, more that now I would look like the old clothes in my grandma's attic. She's so dingy, but I can't blame her. She's got over 100. I hope I ever jeans. She was never sick a day in her life. But lately I've begun to wonder because my joints tear every time it rains. Boy, they sure were aching. Last night while I was waiting for Fred, for by now you're probably nervous, jiggling your foot and think what you're talking about. Why should I care? That's it. If you're still listening, it's the same with the first page of story. If you don't have a sense of what's happening and why it matters to a protagonist, then you're not going to read it. After all, have you ever gone into a bookstore, pulled a novel out of the shelves, read a few pages, and thought, it's kind of dull, and I don't really care about the speed, but I'm sure the author tried really hard and probably something important is saying. So I'm going to buy it, read it, and recommend it to all my friends. Now, you beautifully, brutally heartless. I'm betting you never give the auto arts work or good intentions a second thought. And that's as it should be. As a reader, you owe the writer absolutely nothing. You read their book solely at their own pleasure, where it stands or falls on its own merit. If you don't like it, you simply slip it back onto the shelf and slide out another. What are you hunting on that first page? Are you constantly analyzing each sentence one by one? Are you aware what triggers that finally calibrate the tipping point you decide to either read a book or look another? Of course not. That is not consciously. In the same way, you don't have to think about which muscles you need to move in order to blink. Choosing a book is perfectly coordinated, reflex orchestrated by cognitive connection and unconscious use. It's muscle memory, except in this case, the muscle in the question is the brain. Okay, let's say the first sentence is indeed grabbed you. What's next? The unspoken question that's now bouncing around. It's the same. It's the same. Part two coming soon.